They always told us not to look too long at the hills. As a kid, I thought that was just something old people said to keep you out of trouble. The hills have eyes, they'd mutter at gas stations, behind pharmacy counters, at the bait shop where the old-timers drank flat root beer and chain-smoked through stories that didn't add up. I grew up in a rural town that barely made it onto maps, Pine Reach, tucked right between the forest and the hills. The forest was dense, sure, but normal. The hills made dogs bark at nothing, made phone batteries drain from full to dead in a minute, made people walk in and never walk out again. And when they did walk out, they weren't the same. Nobody would say it out loud, but we all knew there was something watching from up there. Always had been. My dad used to sit on the porch at night with a shotgun on his lap, not saying a word, eyes fixed on the ridgeline like it owed him something. He never told me what happened to my uncle, only that he'd gone into the hills one night and didn't come back. Then, one morning, he did come back, except it wasn't him. He was smiling too much, talking too slow. And when he hugged me, his skin felt like plastic that had been sitting in the sun too long. My dad never let him in the house, just stood there with the shotgun and told him to leave. He did, no argument, just walked back into the trees without a sound. I was 11. That was the last time we ever spoke about the hills. Now I'm 26, and my dad's gone, buried last October. I inherited the house and everything in it, including the old Winchester he used to keep across his lap. I moved back, mostly because I didn't have anywhere else to go. Breakup, job loss, a string of almosts that left me with no pride and too much debt. Pine Reach hadn't changed much. Same cracked sidewalks, same rusty water tower, same hills in the distance, hunched like sleeping giants. I told myself I wouldn't look at them too long. But the first night I was back, I heard something tapping on the window. It wasn't raining. The wind was still. Just tap, tap, tap. I didn't check it. I knew better. But that was the first night the dreams started. In the dreams, I'm walking through the woods, and I can feel something just behind the trees, pacing me, not chasing, just watching. No matter which way I turn, the path always leads uphill. I never see it clearly. Just a silhouette. Tall, too tall, with wide shoulders and a head shaped wrong. It doesn't blink, doesn't breathe, just watches. I wake up soaked in sweat every time, gasping like I've been running. After a week of this, I started sleeping with the lights on. It didn't help. 2 nights ago, I saw it while I was awake. It was standing at the edge of the tree line behind my dad's barn. Same silhouette, same stillness. The porch light flickered when I stepped outside, and by the time I got to the back door, it was gone. No footsteps, no signs, just a pressure in the air like something heavy had passed through. Yesterday, I drove into town and asked around. Most people clammed up the second I mentioned it, but old Mrs. Bell at the library gave me a look like she'd been waiting for someone to ask. She pulled out a binder from under her desk, thick with yellowed newspaper clippings, hand-drawn maps, and pages torn from journals. "Dark watchers," she whispered, like saying it too loud might bring them closer. "They've been here longer than the town. They live in the hills or under them. People who stare at them too long go missing, or they come back wrong." I asked her what they want. She shook her head. "They don't want anything. They just wait." When I asked her how she knew all this, she looked down at her hands. "My brother went up there in 72. I saw him again in 89. He smiled too much." That was all she said. That brings us to tonight. I'm writing this because I saw it again, closer this time. Not at the trees, on the porch, just standing there behind the screen door, staring in. I didn't breathe. I didn't move. Its eyes were pits, Not glowing, not reflecting, just empty. I blinked, and it was gone. But the screen was still creaking like it had just closed. I locked every door, every window, shut the curtains, but I can still feel it. Watching, waiting, like it knows something's about to happen. I don't think I can sleep tonight. I don't think I want to. I must have fallen asleep, because when I opened my eyes, it was morning. But something was wrong. The air felt stale, like the house hadn't been opened in years. The light coming through the curtains was too white, too still. I walked through the house in a daze. Everything was where it should be. Coffee cup in the sink. Old photo of my dad on the mantel. The shotgun leaning by the front door. But something was off. The birds weren't singing. No wind, not even the buzz of cicadas. Just a silence so thick it rang in my ears. I stepped outside and looked at the hills. They were closer than they'd been yesterday. I swear they'd moved, like they'd leaned in. I got in my car and drove into town, but the road didn't look right. The gas station was missing. The post office had no windows. And the people, they were wrong. They smiled too wide, stood too still. And when I waved, they didn't blink. I stopped outside the grocery store and asked a man if everything was okay. He turned his head slowly, like a puppet, and said, "You look too long." Then he walked away. I drove straight to the library, but the door was chained shut and the windows boarded up. The sign out front said, "Closed," in red paint that looked too fresh. I called out for Mrs. Bell, but there was no answer, just silence. I started hearing the tapping again, not on glass this time, on me, like invisible fingers brushing the back of my neck. I looked over my shoulder and saw nothing, but the air shimmered like heat off asphalt, even though it was barely 60 degrees. I went back home, locked the doors, sat with the shotgun in my lap like my dad used to, for hours, nothing. Then, just after sundown, I saw it again, standing at the edge of the yard, backlit by the last orange light of the day. Same height, same wrongness. I aimed the shotgun, but I didn't fire. I don't know why. Maybe because deep down, I knew it wouldn't help. It just stood there, watching, waiting. Then it raised its arm and pointed toward the hills, slowly, deliberately, as if giving me a choice. I didn't sleep that night either. This morning, I found footprints, barefoot, long, pressed into the dirt like they'd sunk deeper than they should have. I followed them, through the woods, past the creek, all the way to the base of the hills. The trail was old, half swallowed by moss and time, but I knew where it led. My dad once told me about an old ranger station up there, abandoned after a landslide in the 60s. No one went up anymore, not even hunters. I brought the shotgun and a flashlight and this notebook, because if I don't make it back, someone needs to know. The climb was steep. The forest got quieter with every step. Even the bugs stopped. Halfway up, I saw symbols carved into the trees, circles with slashes through them, eyes with no pupils, shapes that made my head hurt if I stared too long. The air got thicker, like it didn't want me breathing it. I kept climbing. At the top, I found the station, half collapsed, buried in ivy. The door was off its hinges. Inside, everything was coated in dust, except for the floor. A perfect circle had been cleared of debris. In the center, a chair, facing the window, and sitting in the chair, my dad, or something wearing his face. He looked at me and smiled. Too wide, too slow. "Took you long enough," he said. His voice was right. His eyes weren't. I raised the shotgun. He didn't flinch, just said, "You saw it, didn't you? The Watcher." I nodded. "It's always been there," he said, waiting for someone to understand. I asked what it wanted. He shook his head. It doesn't want. It reflects. Then he stood. You look tired, he said. You've been watched too long. I backed out of the cabin. He didn't follow, just kept smiling. I ran. The trail was gone. Every turn led uphill. Every tree looked the same. The symbols had changed. They glowed now. I turned around and the station was gone too. I kept running until night fell. Then I saw them, dozens of watchers, all standing in the trees, all facing me, not moving, not blinking, like they'd always been there. I dropped the shotgun, fell to my knees. Then I heard my dad's voice again, echoing through the trees. Once you see them, they never stop seeing you. That was 2 nights ago. I made it back somehow, but I don't think I ever really left. The hills are closer now. I measure them every morning, 2 inches closer today. The sky doesn't feel like sky anymore. And the people in town, they keep smiling that same wide smile. I've stopped talking to them, stopped answering the phone. I hear tapping at the windows all night, and the mirror doesn't show me right anymore. My reflection blinks when I don't. If you're reading this, don't look at the hills. Don't follow the path. Don't stare too long at anything that watches back. They only need you to see them. After that, they're already inside.